would be very good. There are 4 of them. Oh, that's the Kittel group. That's the Kittel group. Okay, so
Kittel
4 Astronaus in the Kittel group.
Kittel and Degenkolb.
Kittel and Degenkolb have got together. Okay.
Still can't quite see the white jersey of Groenewegen.
Nope.
So, there he is.
There
just
he
at
is
the
at the
bottom
back
of the
that group,
screen.
bottom of the screen. Yeah. 1, 2, 3. And look at the way that...
and see, this is where you just have to... You cannot let your guard down.
BMC, you can see the red jersey of Degenkolb next to the Sky rider there. And then there's a cluster of BMCs, Trek Segafredos, both with black and red jerseys. And then the Bahrain Merida, they're also black and red. This is the place you'd want to be out of it. Well out of all that chaos.
Yep, 3:22, so it's dropped down again. Big chunk of time, but they won't be panicking.
You'd believe it was a blizzard, wouldn't it? You know, snow pouring across the road. It's sand. And that gap closing, and one imagines Bob Jungels, we saw earlier on, sitting at the back of the echelon there, resting from the wind, and that will be a major saving of energy for him for later on.
It will be.
There is Kittel.
Race leader. He's going to have to go through and do a bit of a turn to try and bring this back. You can just see there. They can see the wheels, so they won't be overly panicking now. It's all kind of... Order is slightly restored within, and they've got themselves a good tempo. Daniel Oss is there. He'll want to, you know, he's a strong rider there, number 54 with the hair flowing. He's a strong rider, and it is starting to come down. And those riders, the quick step riders, and also the Lotto NL Jumbo riders who are up there in the front group, they'll be rolling through, but they won't really be pushing and trying to stretch it out. There'll just be a riding tempo. It keeps the rhythm going, but also it will just slow them, just knock a little bit of the edge off this front group and allow that group with their team sprinters further back to come through.
Blythe, Renshaw, Thwaites.
Scott Thwaites.
Nick Dougal are coming through. Now, the temptation... Blythe is riding. Now, the temptation for the blue jersey here, Marcel Kittel, and the red jersey just gone out of shot, John Degenkolb, is to ride, is to race. They're big and powerful, but should they or shouldn't they, Rob?
No, they should ride, because it's all or nothing. It's no good sitting back and waiting. And also, the further back down, especially the second group, because it's slightly bigger, if you imagine you're on the back, you're getting even less protection.
Yep.
It's actually easier to work. You're doing a short... They'll just do a short turn on the front, but then they get back within the protection of the wheel in front of them, and it's a lot easier. It helps. It's a double-edged sword. It helps you energy-wise, protection-wise, but it also keeps everybody in the group happy.
And let's not forget Kittel, a former time trial specialist. He's got it both ways, hasn't he?
Yeah.
He's got the power of a sprinter,
and
but he's also
a bit more
got
sustainability in that grunt, and you can see that gap. It's very slowly coming down. They can't afford to relax and just ride tempo. They still have to fight. But, if, you know, you get guys like Degenkolb and Kittel, it's no good them sitting and waiting and conserving energy if it doesn't bring them back.
Well, Rob, we've come into the season lamenting the disappearance, temporary or permanent, time will tell, of the Tour of Qatar. And here we have a Tour of Qatar scenario. The side winds come in.
Giving us a little bit of everything at the moment.
Absolutely fantastic. Gruzdev, as I say, are coming through. This is Martin Wynants, who's at the front of the line for Lotto NL Jumbo. I was wondering how the Wynants-Tankink tandem would work. They're both the road leaders, both senior riders. They've both got dozens and dozens and dozens of one-day races to their credit, and they're the guys that boss the team, tell people what to do. They're both here, and Wynants has made that group. I haven't seen Tankink in the group. I think he might be there.
Yep, he is up the front there.
He's up the front. But look at this sense of urgency about them. Am I seeing a slight incline there? They seem to be going slightly uphill as well by
just
a small percentage point.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
But nothing. That's the least of their worries at the moment. There you can see Cavendish on the wheel of Renshaw.
Yep.
And it's going to come back. but not without a fight. Yeah, you can see Groenewegen really, the hips swaying. They're having to fight the bikes. They still cannot afford to just back off, you know, and coast. You know, there is no slipstream from those riders in front. There you go, Groenewegen, number 91. You know, he's having to fight. He's a punchy rider. He's a sprinter, and he'll certainly be. He'll have a little bit more of a smile on his face in a minute, knowing that this, you know, it looked like it was all starting to split up. It did split up, but they've managed to contain it and bring it back just. Not quite there yet. And that wind's, it's getting stronger, isn't it?
Absolutely, isn't it? And the visibility has been affected by this as well. There seem to be 3 movie stars in that group. I'll try and identify those. But I'll tell you who is in that chasing group. There, rider number 31 is, as well as Julien Alaphilippe, there, a great prospect for tomorrow. Sonny Colbrelli, for whom everything has gone wrong so far, punctured on stage 1, just 3 kilometres, out 51st yesterday after a puncture when the end game of the stage was fully on. But this is both a much harder stage than either of those 2 stages, and a stage that perhaps could come together with a restricted group with some of the big sprinters already having burnt some of the power. And Colbrelli tends to thrive in that sort of situation. So he, although he'll be suffering and gritting his teeth and cursing at the pain, will also be thinking this perhaps opens up possibilities for a sprinter of my characteristics.
It will, but I tell you what, it's not over yet, because now what you've got, the issue is we've got a bigger group, and if the pace continues on the front, then it just means that there are more riders further back who are out of that protection, and so it could very well split again. It just depends on if anybody is capable and willing to actually put the pressure on the front. There you can see they're sending cars through, so it's, you know, it's unlikely that these guys are going to get themselves back up.
Yeah. That tends to mean that there's a 2-minute gap at least between them and the riders in front.
Send the cars through.
And it can mean more if, because of road narrowings and so on, there hasn't been space for cars to go through, or for other reasons, the lack of security. Of course, the cars then create a wall protecting the riders from the wind, and they sometimes play with that tactically. They won't be allowed to here.
No, they'll put what they call a barrage up, and so they'll leave the cars behind, wait till there's a big enough gap between the groups of riders, and then send the cars up 1 or 2 at a time.
Conversation going on between Mark Christian and Dowsett.
Yeah, something along the lines of, I bet they're having fun further back. Something like that.
Are you listening to this?
I bet it's hitting the fan with the guys further back.
And Kittel, he was looking very relaxed in the wheels earlier on in the stage. He's not looking so relaxed now, taking his pull at the front.
Yep, he didn't panic. He may have done for 30 seconds or so, but you know, once you start to get into that rhythm, that groove, and he had plenty of teammates with him, plenty of other riders who needed to get themselves back up to the front of that peloton, the front of Group 1. This is obviously back with the leaders. But that chasing group has swelled again, and that's pretty much it now. Anybody
that's the selection, isn't it? Yep.
Anybody who has missed that move, the Kittel group, that's it. It's game over for them, and they're going to have a long, lonely ride back.
Imanol Erviti is in that group. He's a massive, powerful, cobbled one-day race specialist.
Gregor Bol, I think, was there as well.
Gogol is in there for Trek Segafredo. So is Gregory Rast, another of Cancellara's key domestiques. He'll be. This is what he's all about. The interesting thing about this is there are riders who live for this type of scenario.
Yeah, Viviani for Team Sky. Just seeing his
Viviani's
face pop
in there.
out. So we've got the selection of sprinters in this group, so we won't be disappointed either way, whether this group stays away or whether it comes down to a group sprint. they're pretty much all there now.
Colbrelli's in there. Drucker is in there too. 11th in yesterday's stage and in the breakaway too. I'd like to know who of the other Italian sprinters is in that group. Viviani's in there, Colbrelli's in there. Good for them. Colbrelli, as I say, all of them will be suffering and cursing the conditions. And
I wonder what's happened there with Greipel. You can just see.
yeah, there's blood coming from his temple.
Maybe he got caught up in that crash,
Yeah.
and maybe a bike flicked up, something.
Yeah.
We don't know, just surmising. But
Didn't seem to go down, but certainly he was
Yeah, didn't
initially
go-
in
he
the
wouldn't have
chasing
gone- yeah.
group, didn't
Yeah.
he? Wouldn't have been in that group if he'd gone down.
no,
But,
may have just got caught up, and having a little bit of a word there with
with one
Astana.
of the... He's been hit by something, isn't he? Something is thrown up from the road.
Yeah, may have been flicked up from a wheel from the rider in front of them. I'm sure we'll find out later.
Yeah, I'm sure we will. Well, going back to the World Championship in Doha, shaped very much by the conditions.
Very similar scenario.
Sagan was not in the first group. He was like Kittel here. He was in the second group. He won the race, of course, but the hard part was done before. He broke across from the second group to the first group. Not many riders could even think of doing that. Of course, it depends on specific conditions. I can remember being on a motorbike commentating at the Tour of Qatar a few years ago. Echelons formed. Cancellara, there was a gust of wind. Cancellara was suddenly in the sand at the side of the road and dropped out, integrated the second group. If a rider like Cancellara can do nothing about those circumstances, then what hope is there for anyone else? Kittel, blood streaming down his face. We don't know what's gone on.
Alaphilippe just riding through
putting
for
his
Quick Step.
arm and expressing his sympathy for Kittel. And looking at the sand at the side of the road, now it's crossed. It was side wind, it's now cross tail.
Yep, so that'll be pushing it up. So again, dangerous because they're travelling so quick.
There we are, Alaphilippe. A pat on the back for Kittel. Vermont comes alongside too. He's always got that look of urgency on his face, hasn't he, Alex? Whatever's going on, that's the expression he wears on his face. And Pibernik behind him seems to have a smile on his face. I think it's just the expression the face assumes when they're at full effort. But
Well,
sometimes you say,
being
He's
2
not
minutes up the road
Yeah.
and seeing shots from
Oof.
behind, they'd have been smiling, watching the monitors.
just to be as far away from it as possible.
Yeah, it just means as well that if and when these four do come back, that rider there, Mark Christian, can aid and abet the possible sprint for Blythe there in the white. So he'll have a teammate up front, and that's good news for him. Can he come away with another top 10 today?
This looks like the integration of another group on the back
Yes,
of the leaders.
Yeah, I think there's a group of around about a minute and 10 behind this group.
And the third chasing group at 2 minutes. All order, neatness, organisation among these four. All twitchy tension in
Yeah,
the Kittel group behind.
Yeah, certainly for these guys here, and group 2 on the road, the Kittel group. Panic is kind of over at the moment for now. as they kind of regroup themselves, get themselves into a rhythm. But will it happen again here? You can see the cones on the side of the road, on the right-hand side of the shot. You have to be careful. If a rider touches a wheel and goes down, it could set another formation of echelons going off again. So they certainly cannot relax, panic over, but they do have to keep full control, full concentration. Groenewegen in the white, he's not coming into this at all. He's at the back, just tucked in all the wheels, making sure that he gets as much protection as he can.
And the riders of the various different teams now finding themselves and getting themselves organised into little clusters in that leading group around their leaders. So Degenkolb in the red jersey, surrounded by the red and black jerseys of Trek Segafredo. We saw there Groenewegen with the 4 NL Lotto NL Jumbo riders around him, and another one up towards the front contributing to the pacemaking. And Kittel seems to have taken the decision that the best place to be is at the front, being one of the riders
just
rotating.
Circulate round. Yep. Rotate through.
Time and time again, cycling comes down to the fact that if you're not there to work and stay out of trouble there, contribute to it. Cohen de Court coming through there too, and this is Scott Thwaites, I think, next man through for Team Dimension Data.
Yep, Scott Thwaites just pushing his way through.
Well, I don't know where they got 3 minutes from there. 3 minutes to what? The information we're being given is 1 minute and 37, so it may have taken the Blackboard motorbike so long to get through, the situation evolving so rapidly that they're being given, like that story by Kafka about the Wall of China, where the people at one end of it received news of the death of the emperor 1,000 years after it had happened. So they continued believing and worshipping the godlike emperor for 1,000 years after his death. And that's what's happening here.
Was it said Royal Mail? Was it said Royal Mail?
You only get that in our commentary.
And here you go, riders further back.
Yep. Now then, plenty of Movistar riders in there. That's Daniele Benati with a little bit of stubble on the wheel of Michael Gogol there. That's Cohen de Court coming through, and these 4 riders, their advantages being eaten away. But amongst all this drama and all these tactics and all the twitchy tension through the peloton, there's also the beauty of this red-orange sand at the side of the road. It's something very special out here. Tour of Qatar is no more.
Group 4 that.
Do you think they'll come along and talk about the landscapes at the end of the stage?
As hard as the race was, wasn't it beautiful out there?
And also, I mean, I should imagine, I felt it myself. You go out on a ride along a windy seashore and the sand stings on the skin. That's also another sensation they'll be feeling. The senses must be absolutely swamped with data and sensation for the riders out there.
And Adam Blythe will be cursing because his nice shiny new shoes
exactly
getting absolutely battered.
Now that is Riccardo Minali, the sprinter, and here's Grivko for Astana. So Astana have some firepower out there. There's Daniel Oss, is the BMC rider, with those 2-3 Trek Segafredo surrounding Degenkolb and Viviani in close attendance. So Sky don't have a huge amount of riders. Well, there are 1 or 2 there. 1 or 2 there. That looks like...
Yep, Sky have got a number of riders.
Michał Gołasz, the former Polish champion,
Nice.
in that group. Knees is there. I tell you what, the cameramen are going to have to dust out the cameras today as well, because that sand is going to get right into all the rings for the zoom lens and so on, or into the rocker controllers.
Don't want sand in the crevice.
And there's going to have to be a lot of work for the mechanics, isn't there? Because of course the sand erodes the chain and the cogs, and will
all the running gear.
Yep.
It really does. It does a lot of damage. Plays havoc to the efficiency of the drive chain.
The Team Sky mechanics I was talking to before the race began, they arrived at around about midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning at the airport in Dubai. 11 teams all coming in together. And at 3 o'clock in the morning, they were starting work, putting the bikes together for stage one. The rhythm that they work at, and they know that they're going to have a long, long night ahead of them tonight, preparing those bikes to be in shape for tomorrow's key stage.
The long transfer all the way back as
well.
They
have as well, 200 kilometres just to get back to the hotel.
Yeah, all the riders in the hotel right next to the start, which is handy for the morning, but obviously they've got a bit of a trek on the way back.
I've been on a motorbike in these sort of conditions commentating, and people were tweeting me at times after the stage saying, you know, you're dressing it up, you're trying to make it more dramatic than it is. And the reason is that when you look from the television camera, it somehow, just as with gradients as well, cameras tend to simplify. They somehow they don't convey the tension and the movement. A large movement looks like a small movement in a television camera because the lens is so wide. And in fact,
there is so much going on there. Look, and it's happening again.
Yeah, more going on.
Yeah, you know, you sometimes get it. You know, it could have been quite easy for the previous couple of days to have said, oh, you know, those in the peloton, they're having a day off. It's an easy day, and they're just riding in the wheels and getting themselves from A to B. You mentioned that to any of the riders in there. Say, oh, how was it? Was it a rest day, you know, in the Tour, for instance? Oh, how was your transitional day? It's transitional?
Yeah.
What exactly does that mean? Because that was hard out there. Doesn't always, you know, it doesn't always convey, you know, you can't see the effort often, especially from behind like this. It's only when you really get a close-up of the faces that you can have any idea, really, of the sort of effort that the riders are putting themselves through.
And the same goes for mountains, for gradients. You know, the cameras flatten everything out. So if it really does look steep, then you know that it's a circus act getting up there. Yeah. So Team Sky with some riders up there. Viviani is in that group. There's an indication. Well, it didn't have a reputation as this type of race, the Tour of Dubai. That is one of the race organisation motorbikes that has a problem with. He might have dropped a flag.
Yeah, or he's seen something in the road, one or the other, but stopped for. Hopefully.
I wonder if those plastic sort of bricks along the side of the road have been blown out of position. You do sometimes see them susceptible to the wind. I think they're supposed to be filled with sand or water or something to make them heavy.
They'll be filled with sand by the end of the day. Scott Thwaites there. Dimension data just moves over now. Kittel goes through. And 4 from Lotto and El Jumbo. Well, they get in 2 minutes 50.
Benati and Alaphilippe, two of the potential winners in tomorrow's Hatterdam stage. They are in that group. Alaphilippe with Marcel Kittel's Quick-Step Floors team. Daniele Benati for Movistar. Blythe too, could be good for tomorrow's uphill finish. Tao Gegenhardt, 22 years old, a massive talent. He's in that group for Team Sky at the service of Elia Viviani with Christian Nees. We've seen Grivko, Gruzdiev, and I believe Riccardo Minali in that leading group. Their sprinter got an 8th place yesterday. Sonny Colbrelli is there for Bahrain Merida. He's had a stinker of a tour so far. He was beautifully positioned. The team had done a great job for him in stage 1, only to crash 3 kilometres from the finish line on the final U-turn, and then had an unfortunate puncture inside the final 15 kilometres yesterday and was able to do no better than 51st. So he's had dreadful bad luck, but he's in this group too. Team Bahrain Merida. And I think his lead-out man, David Pear, is there as well. We have to confirm that. And look at them. I mean, if this was snow, you'd say whiteout. The visibility itself is reduced, and this is also sand that gets in the eyes, that gets in the.
Well, you get the sand with the salt as well from the sweat and perspiration.
Yep.
It's very difficult conditions out there.
That's Martin Leinens on the left-hand side, one of the leaders for Lotto NL Jumbo. Kittel comes through, and that's the point.
Getting that in.
He's lost his glasses. We know that. He's lost his glasses, so he can barely. He needs someone else's glasses.
Yeah, well,
One of his teammates need to give him, or maybe he's thrown them away.
I don't know. I'm not sure if he's got them tucked in the back of, kind of got them on backwards. I'm not sure, but he's got Matteo Trentin.
I wonder if it's related to the cut on the face,
Very well be.
the glasses situation. But at this point, they're not a fashion accessory. They're a necessary piece of safety equipment when you're in the sandblasting factory.
Yeah. Teammate Matteo Trentin is there.
Well, it's almost as... Is there some neutralisation going on there on the part of Lotto NL Jumbo? We didn't see them contributing to the chase, and then suddenly 4 of them moved to the front. Ah, it's because they're coming to the feed zone. Well, imagine trying to find your soigneur in this.
Yeah, very difficult conditions.
They're a forlorn-looking bunch, aren't they?
Those
soigneurs at the side of the road.
Yeah, they've had a bad day, and there you go. This is the feed coming up for the lead group.
Now then, speaking as an ex-professional rider, Rob, what's the rider's technique for eating a sandwich in these conditions?
Well, I'm sure most of us have been on the beach and got sand in your sandwich.
It's not nice.
You don't really have the luxury
Water,
of being able to pick it out, do you? You just...
Look, Mark Christian's saying I want water, but it's no good. Is that a signal to the car? No good
I
saying
think it's fair to say beggars can't be choosers in this situation. He's going to get what he's given.
Yeah. I want water, he says, but he hasn't moved over to the sign. It looks like it's only Pibenik who's picked up a bag there.
Yeah, and he lost one of the bottles as well.
A glance over from Dowsett, and there were words there. And here we have Fabio Sabatini talking to Marco Velo.
He's
picking up some news.
Got dropped from that group, presuming he is behind the Kittel group, his teammate. Maybe be further back. Here we go. This is oh no, actually, sorry, he was off the front. Yeah, the chap.
So this is in fact the lead group. Okay, good. Well, that has allowed us to see that that Kittel has Sabatini, who was absolutely key for him yesterday. He credited him with piloting him through from the left-hand turn 1.5 kilometers out through to the wheel of Matteo Trentin, who then led him out. And although the integrity of the sprint train dissolved effectively, Sabatini enabled him to be in contention to come through for that shout. You think Van Hoff is in?
Yeah, I think still Van Hoff. It looked like there was one of the... I wondered if any of them had made it. The One Pro cycling team. But there is one there, and I'm pretty sure it was still Van Hoff, who is their sprinter.
Yep.
Seems to be the only one who has made it. I haven't spotted any of the others.
There'll be riders in that group because they are brilliant at riding in these conditions. There'll be other riders in that group who happen to be in the right place at the right time, and it doesn't matter which of the two categories you fall into, you're now there in contention. Well, now then, the subject of extreme weather conditions is one that has arisen in the politics of the sport over recent years, especially in connection with these races on the Arabian Peninsula. But low visibility because of sand is not a subject that I've heard brought up, but it's one that's coming up today. Sand in the eyes, sand in the wrinkles beside the eyes, the sweat, and the reduced visibility, as well as actually riding over pools of sand on the road that massively increase the rolling resistance.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, the danger visually, and certainly was that sand that was all on the left-hand side of the road. And the first time the riders hit that, I wondered if we would see anybody go down. You know, in a straight line, that's not been a problem, as has pretty much been the case. But obviously, it depends on the depth of the sand. You hit it, your front wheel just turns from under you and it washes out. Had it been on a bend, then obviously the chances of that happening are even more so. There, here you can see if you go and ride in that under pressure, it's not a good situation you want to be in. And once you find yourself in that, you almost have to go with it and just let the bike. It's like going off on a wet grass verge. You just have to, rather than try and steer the bike back off it and get back onto the tarmac, you almost just have to let the bike go where it wants to go, and hopefully you can just coax it out and back out, in this case towards the right hand side, and back onto the tarmac. So a lot of fueling going on now. Dowsett just washing his mouth out there, just trying to get the sand out from between his teeth. Dowsett's paid a lot of money for those white teeth over the years. He doesn't want to be knocking any of the enamel off of those.
Oh, he'll come out with sandblasted teeth. Yeah. They'll be gleaming at the end of the day. With his new haircut. We'll be looking a class apart by the time this stage ends. Well, it's like a scene from some adventure movie of the start of the 20th century. And they talk about, sometimes people speculate whether the winners of the early Tours de France would be even in contention these days. And, attitudes, opinions vary. Of course, it's not as if human genetics has changed that much. If you're a fabulous athlete 100 years ago with today's diet and training techniques, you'd probably be a fantastic athlete today. But in the early Tours de France, when there was very little tarmacked road and equipment was utterly primitive compared with these astonishing expensive machines that they ride today, the race was more a race of endurance. Just getting there was it was rather like polar exploration. No one cares how long it takes you to make it to the North Pole or the South Pole, with a team of dogs or walking. It's the fact of getting there and then getting there first. These days it's all about speed, but somehow in these conditions something of that old style racing that first caught the imagination of the world is retained, isn't it? And cycling, no matter how technological, how much the science comes into play, there's Fumi Beppu in that group, so there's another name to add to the list.
Yeah, and I think that's Hayden McCormack, a Kiwi rider for One Pro Cycling, so there is at least two One Pro guys in there.
The Antipodean members.
Cavendish just having a chat with Scott Thwaites. So a little bit of calm restored. Maybe the wind is not quite so strong there, so they're able to just relax, spread out a little bit, not fighting. And it's, as it stands here, 1:36, as we see on the screen. Just a little bit of discussion there with
Chief Com. I want some medical attention. If I drop back to the car, I'm gone. What do we do here? Is he asking for the stakes to be neutralised?
He's asking for a bucket and a spade, maybe.
Extraordinary conditions. Extraordinary conditions here. Brilliant racing. Degenkolb being consulted. Two old friends. They went to police academy together as youngsters. Great to hear what they're talking about there. There's Renshaw, another authoritative figure. A word from Adam Blythe there. They're going to get Cavendish involved and see what opinion is. While all this is going on,
Gap just stretching out a little.
gap is
2
stretching
minutes.
out. The four leaders just carry on turning the pedals. And I'm pretty certain that was Rory Sutherland there for Movistar team. So they have Daniele Benati and Sutherland. I think there's at least one other in that group. Now it's Degenkolb's turn to speak to the Chief Com. Go quiet while we listen and see if we can pick up a mic. No, I can't. No, I can't.
I think he's saying if I don't get a Solero in the next 3 minutes, I'm not going to be happy.
Cavendish. Now, there's another of the Aqua Pro riders there. Aqua Blue. Matt Brameyer is in that group too.
Well, that's a good move there by Bramier.
So the peloton has come back together.
Yeah.
So while all that has been going on, the chasing group has rejoined the front group.
Pete Williams, I think,
Yeah.
for one pro, just nipped through there as well. So yeah, it's starting to swell a little bit further back. Who has survived?
And these four, meanwhile, now lead by 2 minutes and 40 seconds. And Kittel gets finally a chance to go back to the medical car and get that eye looked at. I wonder what caused it. ...113 kilometres into the race. The main body of the peloton is together. There's Sasha Modolo with his lead-out man, Roberto Ferrari, with the long hair just moving through the stream. As Kittel gets some love and attention over on the far side of the road. And after all that, the status quo is restored, and they're all having a chat. The Bahrain riders there are, that's Matej Mohoric on the left-hand side in conversation with Jan Polans, a Giro d'Italia stage winner, and all now talking about the adventure they've just been through. No sand now riding pushing across the road, and I can tell you this. When the international transmission begins in a few minutes' time, all of that astonishing drama will be over, and it will be as if nothing had happened. So how
None the
brilliant
wiser.
it is.
Do we tell them?
Let's not say a thing. Let's not. 4 got away, and that was it. Brilliant, absolutely stunning.
Another
racing.
run-of-the-mill sprint stage.
Happy with the plaster, eh? A badge of courage.
Well, that was certainly exciting for us, but excitement that many of those riders could have done without.
And once again, energy depletion. You know,
The nervous energy, physical energy, but the nervous energy as well, adding up
mental
onto
fatigue.
that.
Yeah, there's Bran Temke moving to the front. Erviti drifting across the front of the peloton too. Martin Winans there as the Lotto NL Jumbo rider, and some sympathy from Team Dimension Data's Jay Thompson. Well, is the suggestion there that he somehow got an elbow in the face? Or are they talking about something else completely? You see, now the speculation starts. And not just for us, but for the riders in the peloton as well. And Team Movie Star moving towards the front of the group, for whom Alex Dowsett will be a crucial rider tomorrow, because he knows very well the twisting, turning, tricky run-in towards the climb up to Hatterdam. If you're not in the right place at the bottom of that climb, you can forget it. It's narrow, it's very, very steep. You're not going to be able to get past anyone. Emanuele Erviti, this guy in the middle of the screen there, he doesn't know that he's a brilliantly powerful rider, and one that Daniele Bennati will be counting on to pilot him to a good position at the foot of the final ramp tomorrow. But Emanuele has never ridden here before, so the knowledge of Dowsett could be key.
Yeah, position on a run-in, to a climb can be crucial, all important. And if you do have prior knowledge, whether it's your team leader who has that knowledge, or they have a team rider, support rider who knows, then all the better. If you can go in with a little bit foreseen knowledge, always an advantage.
Kittel, I seem to remember, lost 10 seconds in real time to Degenkolb at the Hatterdam stage 2 years ago. Now, Kittel's team deposits him in a great position at the foot of that climb. He loses a little bit. Can he win the stage? It's short 200 meters, but it takes a lot longer. So it's a much longer effort than a sprint finish at the end of a flat stage.
Well, that's as warm as it's been.
Yeah.
A lot warmer. It's very muggy out there as well today. But yeah, if Kittel does do a very similar scenario to Degenkolb, if Degenkolb can win and take the time bonuses and 10 seconds in, well, it's still 10 seconds advantage for Kittel.